Hello everyone, our group's topic is foreign language anxiety among Chinese international students in Malaysia's multilingual environment. And our group members are YUANCHONG, SHUANGXU, and AIJIA. My name is AIJIA, so in my part, I will first introduce the research context. As we all know, Malaysia is a multilingual country, with Malay as the official language, English being widely spoken, and a large number of Chinese speakers. According to Xie and Xing's research, Chinese students in Malaysia face multiple language exchange scenarios, including English classrooms, Malay social interaction, and Chinese-speaking community. These different environments can lead to varying degrees of language anxiety. And we will also emphasize the importance of Chinese international students in Malaysia. According to Education Malaysia Global Services, as you can see in the right, here is a bar chart. The number of Chinese international students in Malaysia has been steadily rising, making them a significant part of the international students population in Malaysia. So, this trend not only reflects the demand of Chinese students for overseas education, but also highlights the importance of studying the problem of language anxiety in this group. And next, I will introduce the relationship between multilingual environment and language anxiety. Although multilingual environments provide rich resources for language learning, they also present challenges. Studies have shown that high levels of anxiety in language learning can have a negative impact on the learning process and the language skill development of learners. In a multilingual environment, language anxiety can be exacerbated by factors such as language background, cultural differences, and social interactions. And here is the research significance and goals. Currently, most of the research on language anxiety has been on the classroom settings, and there are few studies on different linguistic environments in this multilingual context, especially in Malaysia. Therefore, this study aims to fill this gap and provide new perspectives and data support for the study of multilingualism by exploring the level of language anxiety of Chinese international students in different language environments. In addition, the findings will provide valuable insights for educators, policymakers, and students to better understand and cope with language anxiety when learning and living in a multilingual country. So, based on the research context, we come up with the research objectives and questions. Our first research question is, what are the levels of Chinese international students' language anxiety in Malaysia across different contexts? English classrooms, Malay social interactions, and Mandarin community settings. The second research question is, how does different language environments affect Chinese international students' language anxiety levels? And the two research objectives are aligned with the two research questions. This is the end of my part.
Hello everyone, my name is SHUANGXU, and now I'm going to briefly present the methodology and the pilot findings of our study. In our pilot study, we adopted a quantitative approach. Online questionnaires were used to investigate Chinese students' foreign language anxiety across 3 different contexts. The first one is English medium classrooms, then Malay language social interactions, and also Mandarin-speaking communities. In our pilot study, we had 30 participants who were Chinese students from University Malaya. And in our formal study, there will be 200 participants for us. We mainly distribute our questionnaires through social platforms such as WeChat and WhatsApp. And here is a sample of our online questionnaire. The questionnaire has 2 sections. The first section is demographic information. It contains the duration in Malaysia, self-reported language proficiency for Malay, and also their IELTS grade. And the second part is the anxiety scale. We had 10 items in each context. And these 30 items were adapted from Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, invented by Horwitz in 1968. For data analysis, we used Excel to process our data. Also, we applied one-way ANOVA to examine if the students' anxiety levels differ significantly across the 3 contexts. Also, correlation analysis was used to explore the relationships between their anxiety levels and their demographic factors. Our study followed ethnical guidelines with prior approval. The participants were informed and could withdraw anytime. What's more, this study's anonymity and confidentiality was strictly guaranteed. And now let's move on our pilot findings. Through our pilot study, we find that the anxiety levels varied in different language situations. As we can see from this chart, students has the highest anxiety level with Malay in social settings, of course, the Mandarin with the lowest anxiety. Also, we found a strong link between language ability and anxiety. The lower language proficiency mainly leads to the higher anxiety. So we can conclude that even with a small scope, we found meaningful patterns between language skills and their anxiety levels. So if in our bigger study, we add interviews to hear students' real voice, I believe we can dig more information between their anxiety levels and the different contexts. That's all for my part of the presentation. Thank you.
Now, hi everyone. The next part is about the reflection and conclusion about what we have learned from our pilot study on language anxiety among Chinese international students in Malaysia. Now let's look at some key insights we gained from our pilot study. First, we found that language anxiety isn't the same across different languages. Students felt more anxious when using English or Malay compared to Mandarin. This shows how important it is to look at language use in different contexts. We also noticed that students who felt more confident in a language tended to report lower anxiety. So self-perceived language proficiency may be a key factor to explore in our full study. Lastly, our questionnaire design worked well overall, especially the adapted foreign language classroom anxiety scale. With some small changes, it is ready for broader use. Now let's see some lessons we have learned. We did run into some problems. When issue was with reversed coded questions, they made data analysis harder than expected. Next time we will make those items clear. Another challenge was our sample. Most of our participants had similar language backgrounds and study time in Malaysia. This gave us some bias, so we need to better sampling strategy. We also realized that Excel wasn't enough for deeper analysis. We will need to use proper statistical softwares like SPSS going forward. Now, finally, the survey alone didn't give us the full picture. We felt that adding interviews or open-ended questions could help us to better understand students' real experience. Now, let me briefly talk about our commitment to improving the study in the next stage. Now, first, the sample size in the pilot was quite small, only 30 people. So for the full study, we will increase the number and make sure it's more representative. Now, secondly, our questionnaire was only in English, which might have affected how comfortable our participants felt. So for the formal study, we will provide the Chinese version to make it more accessible and accurate. Now, also, while the reliability scores were high, we found that some important variables, like students' self-rated language proficiency, were missing. We will include those next time. In terms of analysis, we use Excel for the pilot, but we will switch to SPSS for better statistical testing. Now, finally, to go beyond the numbers, we're considering adding interviews or open-ended questions to explore the emotional side of language anxiety more deeply. So in conclusion, we've learned a lot from our pilot study, and we're ready to take the next stage.
Here are our references. That's all for our group's presentation. Thank you.